you sustain a chord indefinitely and do that and stop it whenever you want to. It's very handy.
From MIT to rock legend, the untold story of Boston's incredible debut album. 1. The birth of a rock legend. In the glittering world of rock and roll, few stories are as fascinating as Boston's rise to stardom. This tale of determination, innovation, and pure musical genius would redefine what was possible in rock music. The story of Boston's debut album stands as a testament to human perseverance and technological innovation. At its core, this isn't just about creating one of the greatest debut albums in rock history. It's about one man's relentless pursuit of perfection. In 1976, the odds were staggeringly against any new band's success. Record labels were releasing approximately 2,500 albums annually, with only 23% breaking, even at 61,000 copies sold. Even more daunting, only 100 albums per year achieved gold status, with a mere quarter reaching platinum certification. 2. The man behind the music. Donald Thomas Scholz, born in 1947 in Toledo, Ohio, wasn't your typical rock musician, standing at an imposing 6'5". This former high school basketball center possessed an engineer's mind and a musician's soul. From his earliest days, Scholz displayed an innate talent for innovation, constantly tinkering with machines and seeking ways to improve existing technologies. His musical foundation was built on classical piano, but his true passion would emerge later with rock and roll. 3. From MIT to music. Driving east to Cambridge, Massachusetts in his self-restored 1955 T-Bird, Scholz embarked on his academic journey at MIT. While earning both his undergraduate and master's degrees in mechanical engineering, he discovered his true calling. In 1969, he joined an MIT fraternity band called Freehold, where he met guitarist Barry Goudreau and drummer Jim Mazdia. The latter connection would prove crucial as Scholz and Mazdia began recording demos in Mazdia's basement using equipment that Scholz had ingeniously cobbled together. 4. The missing piece. The pivotal addition came in 1970 when Brad Delp joined as vocalist. Introduced through Goudreau, Delp was supposedly retired from rock and roll, spending his days working at a heating coil factory and watching television. His addition would complete the foundation of what would become Boston, drawing inspiration from rock giants like Led Zeppelin's Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck. Scholz taught himself guitar at 21, later mastering bass and organ. His musical influences included the Animals, the Kinks, and the Yardbirds. Securing a position as a product design engineer at Polaroid, earning an impressive $122,000 annually, Scholz gained access to crucial resources. His role, which included developing electrical hardware for the company's instant movie camera, provided him with opportunities to work on secret projects, a privilege that would prove invaluable in crafting Boston's revolutionary sound. Despite the financial strain of professional studio recordings, which forced him to spend a significant portion of his salary, Scholz's determination never wavered. His journey from recording demos with Mazdia and Goudreau at a distant studio would soon evolve into something far more significant than anyone could have imagined. 5. The home studio pioneer. In an era when professional recording studios were the only path to success, Tom Scholz dared to be different. Setting up a home recording studio was revolutionary, especially considering that record labels were drowning in unsolicited demos. One Epic Records representative candidly told the LA Times that most submissions were god-awful, comparing them to shower singers attempting Stevie Wonder covers. Without proper management or industry connections, getting noticed was nearly impossible. 6. The relentless pursuit. Scholz's dedication to his craft was extraordinary. His wife, Cindy, painted a vivid picture of their daily life to the Boston Globe. After 8 hours at Polaroid, he'd barely pause for dinner before disappearing into their cellar. While his colleagues at Polaroid enjoyed radio music during work, Scholz was mentally arranging complex musical compositions. As he later revealed to Entertainment Weekly, "Other than the drums, I played all the instruments on the demos. To anyone listening, it sounded like a full band but it was just me. 6 years of learning to create music solo. His perfectionism often clashed with other musicians who couldn't match his exacting standards. Even his project Mother's Milk with Brad Delph, Barry Goudreau, and Jim Masdia dissolved after a year of live performances. Trying to perform my music with bar bands was self-defeating, Scholz reflected. It distracted me from my true calling, writing and recording. 7. The Final Gamble. By 1973, facing mounting pressure and skepticism from Boston's music scene, Scholz made a bold decision. Instead of buying a house with his wife, he invested $122,000 in an obsolete Scully 12-track recorder, while other bands were using 24-track systems. He transformed their home into a makeshift studio, with cables snaking under rugs and around furniture. As he told the Philadelphia Daily News, "The neighbors were screaming about guitar noise after work hours, but I knew it was now or never." This final demo would determine his future in music. Using custom-designed pedals and spending countless hours perfecting every note, Scholz created what would become legendary recordings. When Brad Delph arrived to add vocals, he was shocked to discover that what he thought was a full band was primarily Scholz's work. The exact contents of this pivotal demo remain somewhat mysterious. Some sources claim it contained 4 tracks including Peace of Mind and Rock and Roll Band, while others insist it included 6 songs with early versions of More Than a Feeling and Something About You. Regardless of the exact track listing, these recordings would soon change rock history forever. 8. The Breakthrough Moment. By 1975, Tom Scholz had refined several of his compositions, including Hitch a Ride, one of his oldest creations that he'd been performing live since the early 70s. His collection of meticulously crafted demos, whether 4 or 6 songs, made their way to various record labels. Despite his previous experiences with rejection, Scholz maintained his dedication, though he confessed to Rolling Stone that his obsession had prevented him from taking a vacation with his wife for 6 years. 9. A Fortunate Connection. September 12, 1975 began as just another ordinary day at Polaroid. However, fate had other plans. Joe Montano, a draftsman who sat next to Scholz, had become fascinated by his colleagues' nightly recording sessions. When Montano requested a tape, Scholz obliged, unknowingly setting in motion a chain of events that would change his life. Montano's cousin Paul Brusso worked at a record store warehouse in Woburn, Massachusetts. One Monday morning, while playing Scholz's tape in his office, the music caught the attention of Charlie McKenzie, a promotion man for ABC Records. 10. The industry veteran's interest. McKenzie's background was impressive. Previously working at Warner Elektra Atlantic's regional offices alongside Paul Ahern, the duo had already proven their ability to break bands into the mainstream. In 1972 alone, they had successfully launched both Yes and Jay Giles Band, managing to place 13 of their label's singles on Boston's influential WRKO station. Their dream of discovering and managing their own successful act was about to become reality. After hearing Scholz's demo, McKenzie immediately contacted Ahern in Los Angeles, playing Rock and Roll Band over the phone. Convinced of the music's potential, they formed Pure Management and took Scholz under their wing. Their industry connections would prove invaluable, especially when approaching Epic Records. Despite the label having previously rejected Scholz's demo with the cutting words, "This band has absolutely nothing new to offer." 11. The Showcase Challenge. Epic Records' response to the new submission remains a matter of debate. Some sources claim the executives were immediately sold, with Steve Papovich, a high-ranking official, declaring it the most professional demo he'd ever heard. Others suggest the label remained skeptical and demanded a live showcase before making any commitments. Either way, Pure Management arranged a performance at Aerosmith's rehearsal warehouse in November 1975. However, Scholz faced a significant hurdle. He didn't have a band. Having stopped performing live shows a year earlier, he needed to quickly assemble a group. While he planned to use Mother's Milk's lineup, management vetoed drummer Jim Masdia's involvement, believing his style wouldn't help secure the deal. With time running short, they brought in Fran Sheehan on bass, marking the beginning of what would become Boston's classic lineup. 12. The Epic Records saga. The band's showcase at Aerosmith's warehouse proved to be a pivotal moment, though not without its complications. With newly recruited drummer Sib Sheehan replacing Masdia, the performance was far from perfect. According to Scholz, they played horribly, yet somehow managed to catch Epic's attention. The exact aftermath of this showcase remains shrouded in conflicting accounts. Some sources claim Epic immediately signed the band, while others suggest a period of uncertain silence followed. 13. The strategic master plan. Scholz, ever the strategist, had an ace up his sleeve. 2 unfinished demos, More Than a Feeling and Something About You, remained in his arsenal. Believing these could be the key to securing Epic's commitment, he devoted himself to perfecting them. His intuition proved correct. These tracks would become the final pieces that convinced Epic to offer a contract. The deal itself was unprecedented. Epic signed only Scholz and Delp to a staggering 10-album contract spanning 6 years. While such terms might seem outrageous today, they were standard practice in the mid-1970s. The label's faith in the duo's songwriting abilities would soon be vindicated beyond their wildest expectations. 14. The unconventional recording process. Epic's desire to spruce up the demos with a professional producer and their union requirements for recording engineers created potential roadblocks for Scholz's vision. However, his innovative spirit prevailed once again. He negotiated a unique arrangement with producer John Boylan. While the band recorded vocals in Los Angeles, Scholz would remain in his basement studio, meticulously crafting the instrumental tracks. This unconventional approach led to a striking disparity in production costs. The LA sessions, including the full band recording of Let Me Take You Home Tonight, totaled around $40,000. Meanwhile, Scholz's home recordings at Foxglove Studios in Watertown, Massachusetts, cost a mere $1,500. The label only discovered this unusual arrangement when they saw the album credits. 15. The final touches. Despite creating what would become one of rock's most iconic debuts, Scholz maintained his position at Polaroid, unsure if his musical aspirations would bear fruit. His cautious outlook stemmed from years of rejection. As he told Entertainment Weekly, his highest hope was that perhaps a local radio station might pick up one of the tracks. The album's cover art journey reflected the same perfectionist approach that characterized the music. After rejecting various concepts, from Boston lettuce to Boston cream pie, and even the Massachusetts State House, the band commissioned their own artist to create the now iconic spaceship design. This celestial theme would become a visual trademark for Boston's future albums, perfectly complementing their groundbreaking sound. Jim Masdia's drumming survived on Rock and Roll Band and Don't Be Afraid, the latter finding its way onto Boston's second album, proving that sometimes the original vision has its own way of persisting. 16. The album's meteoric rise. When Boston's debut album hit the shelves in August 1976, it sparked immediate intrigue. The Philadelphia Daily News noted that the album's futuristic cover art even led to rumors that a computer had composed the band's music. The reality, however, was far more fascinating. Epic Records' promotional strategy was nothing short of theatrical. In Boston, they delivered the album to WURKO, a major station connected to a national network, on a purple velvet pillow, a gesture that perfectly matched the record's groundbreaking sound. The strategy paid off spectacularly. Within 4 days, WRKO added More Than a Feeling to their rotation. A week later, a Houston station followed suit, and soon, New York's notoriously selective market embraced the song through WNEW. Before long, over 400 stations were playing what would become a rock anthem. Rob Alexenberg, Epic Records head, recalled a telling moment to the LA Times. "I walked into my local deli wearing a Boston t-shirt during the first week More Than a Feeling was being played. The kid behind the counter exclaimed, 'Boy, is that your group? I think they're great.' That's when I knew we had a hit." The song would eventually peak at number 5 on the Billboard Hot 100. 17. From engineer to rock star. Scholz's transition from Polaroid engineer to rock star wasn't immediate. The band began playing weekend club dates around his work schedule, but their rising popularity soon demanded more. They secured opening slots for established acts like Foghat and Jeff Beck, though these opportunities came with their share of challenges. Technical difficulties plagued their performances, amplifiers exploded, electrical mishaps occurred, and local sound technicians struggled with the band's sophisticated equipment. The road wasn't without its drama. An accountant's $40,000 blunder and an overenthusiastic DJ's introduction in Milwaukee, declaring Boston the best rock band in the world, got them removed from Foghat's tour. However, these setbacks proved minor when they landed a coveted spot opening for Black Sabbath. Scholz took another leave from Polaroid, but this time, the circumstances were different. Within 7 weeks of release, their debut album went gold, and 4 weeks later, platinum. 18. Legacy and impact. The band's trajectory skyrocketed from earning $750 per night to selling out consecutive shows at Philadelphia's Spectrum, grossing $120,000. This success finally convinced Scholz to leave his engineering career behind. While some critics dismissed Boston as derivative, comparing them to Ted Nugent meets Aerosmith, Scholz remained unfazed. In a 1976 interview, he acknowledged his influences. "Most of our sounds are really old. I got into rock with the 60s West Coast and British Invasion, and it shows." Ironically, he admitted to barely knowing some of the bands they were compared to, including Queen, yes, and the Eagles. More Than a Feeling has transcended its era to become more than just a song. It's a cultural touchstone, featured in countless movies, TV shows, video games, and commercials. Its influence on rock music and popular culture continues to resonate decades later, proving that sometimes the greatest innovations come from combining engineering precision with pure rock and roll spirit. 19. The song that changed everything. More Than a Feeling would go on to cement its place in rock history, earning prestigious recognition from multiple institutions. VH1 ranked it as the 39th greatest hard rock song ever recorded, while the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame included it in their definitive list of 500 songs that shaped rock and roll. Rolling Stone magazine placed it at an impressive 212th position on their 500 greatest songs of all time list. The song's emotional core came from a deeply personal place, though not exactly as fans might have imagined. In a revealing interview with Entertainment Weekly, Scholz explained that the song wasn't based on any specific event, but rather a universal experience, the power of music to transport us back to memories of lost love. The mysterious Mary Ann mentioned in the lyrics was inspired by Scholz's first cousin, whom he had a childhood crush on at age 10. Years later, when he encountered her again, she was less than thrilled about being immortalized in the song, particularly about being identified as his older cousin. 20. Musical legacy and influence. The song's influence extended far beyond its era, even inspiring future rock legends. Nirvana famously incorporated the opening riff of More Than a Feeling as an introduction to their iconic Smells Like Teen Spirit during live performances. When asked about this apparent homage, Scholz displayed his characteristic humility, telling Best Classic Bands, "They didn't do a great job on the chorus. I heard the story about people thinking part of the song sounds like it was a swipe from More Than a Feeling. I don't hear it. If it were, I'd consider it a compliment." The album's other singles achieved remarkable success as well. Long Time, combined with its instrumental introduction Foreplay, reached number 3 on the charts. Interestingly, Foreplay held special significance as Scholz's first ever musical composition, dating back to 1969. The third single, Peace of Mind, which peaked at number 35 on the Hot 100, reflected Scholz's personal rejection of corporate ambition. While Jim Masdia originally developed the drum parts, Sib Haitian ultimately recorded the final version. 21. Marketing mishaps and record-breaking success. Epic Records' marketing department, eager to capitalize on Scholz's unique background, sometimes went overboard with their promotional efforts. They portrayed him as an engineering genius who had single-handedly designed Polaroid's SX70 camera. This misrepresentation frustrated Scholz, who told Rolling Stone, "I did not invent the SX70 on my lunch hour with soda cans and sandwich bags. I don't even know how to load one." The label's promotional campaign in record stores also drew criticism. They featured Scholz in an astronaut suit with the tagline, "Better Music Through Science." Bruce Harris, Epic's merchandising director, defended their approach. You have to create an identity for the group, especially for a new group. You need a catchy mobile that record stores will want to hang up. Despite these marketing missteps, Boston's debut album achieved unprecedented success, becoming the best-selling debut record in rock history, a title it would hold until Guns N' Roses released Appetite for Destruction nearly a decade later. The album's enduring popularity continued into the digital age, with most of its tracks, except Let Me Take You Home Tonight, being released as downloadable content for Rock Band in 2008. Looking back at this remarkable achievement, Scholz reflected, "I think it's very hard for people to get their head around the idea that this band was actually some guy overdubbing in a basement. They like to think that a band plays together and hangs out and writes songs and gets together. But sometimes the most extraordinary successes come from the most unlikely places. In this case, a basement studio in Boston." 22. The unconventional recording contract. Unlike the typical music industry narrative where bands sign a contract and immediately hit the studio for a jam session, Boston's journey was remarkably different. Tom Scholz's methodical approach involved years of meticulous work, often spending long nights recording and re-recording with his trusty tape deck to achieve perfection. 23. Record-breaking success and industry impact. The unprecedented success of Boston's debut album, selling an astounding 1.2 million copies, led to something revolutionary in the music industry. The group's managers successfully renegotiated their contract with Epic Records, a feat virtually unheard of at the time. This groundbreaking move would later influence how artists and labels approached contract negotiations, setting new standards for the industry. 24. The aftermath and legacy. The band's journey following their meteoric rise wasn't without its challenges. Their highly anticipated sophomore album, Don't Look Back, 1978, while commercially successful, received a more tepid critical response compared to their debut. The subsequent years brought significant upheaval, lineup changes that altered the band's dynamic, legal battles that consumed time and resources, and notably, long gaps between album releases. The story of Boston's later years, filled with both triumphs and tribulations, deserves its own detailed exploration. However, their debut album stands as a testament to innovation, perseverance, and the power of one man's vision to revolutionize rock music. From the soaring guitar harmonies of More Than a Feeling to the progressive complexity of Foreplay/Long Time, each track showcases the perfect marriage of technical precision and raw musical emotion. And there you have it, the incredible story of how an MIT graduate turned his engineering expertise into one of rock's greatest debuts. Until next time,